broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Well, hello, Earthers, Belters, Dusters. Welcome back to another amazing AfterBuzz TV after show for your favorite show, The Expanse.
Woo!
Yeah. We're on season 1, episodes 9 and 10, Critical Mass and Leviathan Wakes. I am your host, Sean Overman, and I'm joined here by my lovely and beautiful co-host as usual.
Aw, thanks. Hey, my name's Kari Lane. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kari D Lane. That's Kari, K-A-R-I, and Facebook at Kari Lane Actor.
And you can find me, Maria Cavassuto, at MGCVSST on Twitter, Instagram, and my newly added Snapchat.
Woo!
What?
And you guys can find me at Sean Austino on Twitter and Instagram. And we're joined here in studio with our very special guest. He plays Holden on The Expanse. It is Steven Strait.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
We're just having such a great time. Like, just you. Thank you so much for
Yes,
being
thank
here.
you.
Hey, please. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We had a few drinks before we got on.
Sean, you're not supposed to tell people.
No, gosh. What happens before is in private.
What's in the coffee cup?
You had coffee too, though.
I did.
Yes,
I
yes,
did.
yes.
That's,
In his defense.
yes,
And we have pizza, so, you know.
that's
it's all
right.
good.
So you got an upper and a downer.
That's right. If there's one thing about Holden and me that we have that in common,
Yeah.
the love of coffee.
You love the
Yay.
coffee.
We love the coffee.
And you know how to use your meds.
That's right. That's right. We're keeping ourselves balanced here. It's going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
Whenever we say anything and any behind the scenes stuff like pops into your head, please go ahead and spout it out so that we know what's going on inside your mind. But let's talk about Julie. So I predicted, guys. Did I get it right?
You totally did.
Hashtag true prediction that we were gonna
Yes.
have Julie's whole thing, her whole story in this episode, and we got it right.
Yeah.
So we got to see her flashback. She's on the Scopuli with two belters, right?
Yes.
And I think one's name was Juan and the other's name was Darren, and everybody got captured, right? One thing that was really important in that scene, though, is we got to find out that she referred to it as her father's weapon
Yeah.
that is on the Anubis.
Yes.
So-
Big reveal.
Yeah, huge reveal.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I don't know if you've listened to our podcast, but we've been talking about okay, maybe it's not a weapon. Like I said this last time as my prediction, that maybe it's not a weapon. Maybe it was intended to to
Terraform.
terraform
you could say.
Mars for
and
oxygen.
for oxygen, because they smelled ozone. We had Amos smell ozone last time. Right. And then it just got weaponized because they were like, oh, this has other applications and we could cause this whole disruption with the belt, Earth, and Mars. But she just straight up referred to it as a weapon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's I thought with this episode it was such an amazing thing to see her side of the story just come together so beautifully. And I mean, Florence Favre, what a committed, heartbreaking performance.
Oh my God.
I mean, she was so amazing. And it was really remarkable to see that we see her in the beginning and we see little clips of her throughout the season, yet the character's so fully developed and you're so invested in her. And Holden and Miller, she's really the crux of these two men coming together with the narrative, and I just think she did such a phenomenal job. She just killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it.
I think heartbreaking is absolutely the right
Oh,
word,
yeah.
because just seeing her go through that, it's like such a struggle and so devastating.
So
It
devastating.
looked very painful, just couldn't imagine that, and just it's very visceral.
Yeah, and you see this really strong, idealistic character who's fighting for a good cause, essentially abandoned.
Yeah.
And you really see kind of Dawes for all the hardcore political maneuvering that he does, and
He totally just left her high
he
and dry.
just left
Oh,
her
yeah.
there. So brutal.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff on the Syfy website, and Florence, she mentioned that she was in makeup like all day. Like,
I bet.
Like, I want to say it was almost 12 hours?
It was something like that. It was some crazy long process. I mean, the stuff looked amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful stuff. And I think, for her, for all of us, when we have this incredible kind of prosthetic makeup, it really kind of puts you there. And she's going through this awful transformation into, this other thing, this host of whatever the proto-molecule is.
Right.
And she, she wanted to save the belt from this thing, and ironically, she's the one who brought it there herself.
That is a hard irony.
That's a hard irony.
Oh my God.
All she did was touch the goo for a split second, and it's just like
Awful.
destruction.
Yeah, she touched it. It must have like gone from there to like just infiltrating her cells, getting into her body, and she can't get rid of it now.
No.
It's not like the suits like Holden and everybody else is wearing, where if they touched it, all you could do is just, decontamination room.
Yep.
Sure.
Something.
Yeah, she didn't have that luxury.
No.
And nobody knew what it was. I mean, she didn't know what it was. She knew that it was on the ship.
Yeah.
But she didn't understand the nature of it. And, I don't think anybody really truly understood what was going to happen on Eros. And I don't think that they know what's going to happen on Eros. It's a giant petri dish, and it's a giant experiment. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to be the guinea pigs.
Yeah. Speaking of makeup and what we had, Florence, and you had a lot of makeup on these 2 episodes also because you got radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
So tell us about the makeup and what you went through for that.
Well, Holden again trying to do the right thing, and drags along his friend to get microwaved in the radiation chamber. It's like another smart move on Holden's part, just fumbling forward through the story into becoming a hero.
I love how you two are just kind of standing there, and it's like.
As the beam of light comes down, it's like, oh,
it's
man.
just kind of like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. But yeah, there was quite a bit of makeup, and we wanted to, with everything on this show, we really wanted to emphasize the realism of the stuff, and we didn't want to play the sickness too hard. We wanted to pick moments where you start throwing up blood, and the insides are essentially starting to melt as you're moving along.
Kind of like forgive what I'm going to say, but like Ebola or like a really bad tuberculosis. I mean, it's just so nasty what you guys were throwing up and stuff. It's really
how was that? Although, I mean, there's one thing of having makeup outside, but another is like, here, let's put this in your mouth so you can spit it up at this particular moment.
What was that?
And what would they use?
It's actually really funny because Tom, God, what did he pull? He pulled something from the crafty table. It was like the soup that day. It was like a mushroom soup, or it was something. There was something on the crafty table that day, and he was like, "That's what I'm throwing up." And they brought it over from the crafty table, and he started using that through the scenes.
Wow.
But we both had, we wanted to make ourselves paler and a little sweaty and a lot sweaty. And in reality, we were all really sick. There had been the flu going around the set.
No.
So there was a little bit of like a little method going on. There was actually during the shootout at the Blue Falcon, I was so sick that day, and I'm sorry to get gross here, but we had actually placed trash cans around the set so that I'd do a take, and then I'd go and puke, and then we'd come back, we'd shoot another take, go and puke, go lay down on a cot, come back, shoot again. So we were acting it, and we were also living it to a certain extent.
I thought that Holden was exhausted from his traveling in space, but you were exhausted from puking all day.
That's right. Exactly. Really committed. I'm very committed. I was very committed.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So good. Let's see what else we can talk about. Let's talk about Julie some more. Another important piece is that she attached the OPA beacon to asteroid BA212, whatever the number is.
Yeah, the long chain of numbers.
Yes, exactly. So that's how we know that the OPA knew about where she was exactly supposed to be located. So we had Fred Johnson point the crew of the Rosie in the right direction, but Anderson Dawes also is supposed to know this.
Yeah.
Where the hell is Dawes?
Yeah, he wasn't in this episode at all. No. Last two, yeah.
We only got to see him alluded to with that
phone call.
The phone call, the communique that came up that she was sending to him.
Right.
Right? And he left her.
Yeah. She says the mission's failed, and he's like, all right, thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, peace out.
Just cold, so cold-blooded.
So cold. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes.
And the crazy thing too, I mean, when I was watching the episode as well, and I thought it was a really nice touch, because there's so many Easter eggs through this whole season. But, you know, when we were passing the asteroid in the first episode, and we were going around the asteroid, she was right there.
Yep. That's right.
She was right there.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Literally.
Yeah, literally right there.
And then the Anubis shot those torpedoes towards the Cant and nuked the Cant.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it ties it all together. I mean, it really speaks to
a small universe.
Yeah, you know, and it really speaks to the detail that that the writers on this show like really prized, and everything is so well thought out, and everything's really justified, and nothing's forced, but everything is planned, and you know, we've really. We tried very hard not to underestimate the intelligence of the audience on this show, and it's you know, we've asked people to be patient while we were kind of the slow burn character development, and we wanted to give that payoff, and that was detailed, and it was there the whole time. I mean, they had mapped this first season out, knowing that all of these little pieces would be wrapped up with a bow in the end of the first season.
Yeah, everything was really tied together well, and it was so funny because it was almost, in a way, it was counter to what I've been saying this whole season, which was, oh, she's a MacGuffin, we're never gonna see her. But then we do get to see her, and when we do see her, like you said, it's a huge payoff for us, the audience, and just for everybody involved. Like, it devastates everybody. It devastates it devastates Holden in a way, because you answered that call.
Yeah.
Holden answers that call, and he wanted to help somebody, you know? Like, and then we have Miller, who obviously is hugely devastated because he's in love with her.
In love with her. She represents everything that has brought him back into his life, and she's this metaphor for, you know, for him and what he wants to live for. She's the only thing he has. And you start to see, you know, over the course of this season, Miller's slowly kind of descending into madness over this girl, and
it's ironic because he became sober, but he's also getting mad at the same time.
Yes, he's trading his addiction per se, like
yes, different one.
That's right, and you know, and
different kind of crazy,
and he. You know, he and Holden, I mean, she is really the linchpin for both of these men. I mean, he's looking for her individually, and Holden is looking for her and looking for the voice that he heard out in the middle of nowhere for the answers to why all of his friends died. And, you know, it really drives these two guys together. And in a bizarre way, you know, Miller and Holden have these kind of opposite trajectories where you see this very cynical Miller becoming more idealistic through the love of this girl, and you see Holden, the more responsibility he gets, finding himself in more gray areas when he actually has to do something about it.
That's right. It's the whole time this episode, you get to see them, like, how they really oppose each other in some ways, but then they are working towards the same thing. And Holden is really the white knight who's going to have to make tougher decisions. Right. And then we have the obvious, the black knight over here is Miller, who was taking bribes, who was about to push people out of airlocks before, becoming someone who's actually caring about people other than himself, and caring about something other than money and getting drunk every day.
Yeah, exactly. You're really starting to see his personality form into maybe the kind of guy that he was when he started, before he got so jaded with, you know, however many, you know, decades of corruption and whatnot that has ground his morality down over the years. It's brought him back and rejuvenated him.
One last thing about Julie was that in her dying moments, while the proto-molecule is really taking over her body, she starts to go into madness. She's spouting off things, like we noticed when we were watching, about like her mother and like almost previous memories. Right. And then she sees a vision of Miller with the bird, with that floating swallow or whatever it is at his side. What's up with that?
It's at this point in the story, and I don't know if y'all have read the books, but I was a big fan of the books even before I got the script for the show. Nice. And you will come to understand how these two people are connected, and you know,
Julie and
Miller, and you know, you have the symbol of the bird, and he's got her necklace in his hand when he comes to her vision, and when he's in her apartment, he's almost seeing her through the glass, and it's like these two entities are connected somehow through this other channel, and the protomolecule is involved.
Whoa, okay. That's what I had a feeling about too. And I was thinking to myself, what if the protomolecule is doing something to her body where it is connecting them to, or it makes her kind of like clairvoyant in some way?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it's you know, when I read the books, it's such an incredible narrative with the protomolecule, and you start to find out exactly what it is, and you know, whether they found it or whether they made it, or whether it's a weapon or whether it's just an organic you know, petri dish life form thing that they've made, what it does. And then obviously at the end of the season, when you see Kenzo at the end, and this thing has really taken shape and has used this organic tissue to really grow, I mean, via all of these poor people who have been trapped there.
So now that you say that, so it kind of took over these humans, and it kind of became like a life form, not just like an energy or like that floating mud stuff, but it actually became something that has like a body and like
because it mimicked too. It did like the shape with the light.
It looked like Kenzo.
Yeah.
There's a line in there from Dresden who he did a great job too. How creepy he was in those episodes.
Oh, so creepy.
Yeah, he said to Julie's father, it's like we have to let it go, so you know, we'll learn as it learns.
Yes.
Yeah, we all picked up on that, and we're like, what?
And they don't know what's going to happen, and neither do we. And obviously, at the end, you know, it's taken on some kind of bizarre semi-consciousness-ish thing.
Yeah. I wanted to mention about Dresden because this is, even though we've seen him in footage, and that's how Miller recognizes him, right? This is the first time we get to see him in person on the show. So he gets there to Julie, he takes blood samples, and the protomolecule's in her blood. And he said it's more than enough, and they get, 5 vials? Something like that. And they start injecting people. I don't know if they're injecting them with her samples or if they're doing it with samples they already had.
They're taking it from her. She's the host. And
they must have lost all of it when they nuked the Anubis.
They thought it was gone. And when they found her, that's why he was like, we're so lucky.
Oh my God.
When he's telling her father, you know, that everything's gone really well, even though his daughter has died.
She preserved it.
She
was a carrier.
Yeah.
She's a host.
Yeah.
Host.
How horrible is that, though? It's like, everything could have gone wrong, but we got lucky. Your daughter's dead, though, but we have the thing.
Yeah.
We have the thing.
Yeah, and it's really telling. You know, the reveal of Mao, of her dad. You know, you see him. He turns around and you see that he's upset, but half a second later, he's like, great, we got so lucky, proceed as planned. You know, it's like, it really tells you the kind of guy you're dealing with here.
He's really conflicted, but he's very calculating at the same time, and he needs to do what he needs to do. Whatever this job is that he's doing, whatever this project he's working on, we got to see behind them the graph of Eros, the map of Eros, and that they're spreading the vectors around, you know, like they're going to be spreading that virus everywhere. They know where the radiation shelters are. They got everything planned out, almost like a terrorist map.
Yeah, exactly.
Very calculated.
Yeah, it's an awful situation that really harkens back to just really awful moments in history where, you know, people are just used for this other purpose, and no quarter is given or any value is given to the lives out there.
There was also one line that Dresden said that really resonated with me, and I'm wondering, like, what will it mean later on? I'm sure it's going to get revealed, but he said, "This could save us all."
Yes.
What?
Right.
What the heck does that mean?
And he legitimately believes it. And you know, that's another added mystery to what exactly this stuff is, and what the purpose of it and what function it was supposed to have for this corporation that's building it.
The corporation that is run by Jules Pierre Mao. Wow.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because I'm reading the book. I have not finished all of them. I haven't even finished the first one.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But they do early on. They do reveal about Jules Pierre Mao and Julie Mao how that their family is like, they're like on the top, they're not like in the top 10, but they're within like the top 50 of the richest families on Ceres, I think, or maybe in the system.
And yeah, they're Luna based, I think.
They're Luna based,
if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I read the books, but I think they're Luna based.
So he goes around like on his ship, like it's like a private yacht, pretty much, and he just runs it from his ship, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he's Luna based, so that's why he's able to get down to Earth so quickly and meet up with Avasarala.
Yes.
Later on.
Yeah, at the UN.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Fast forwarding a little bit, but we'll talk about the Row C crew. We'll talk about Holder and Miller and everything that happened with them. But fast forwarding a little bit with Dresden, we get to see him put energy sources on Julie's body, and it amplifies the effect that the protomolecule has, and that's how it spreads throughout the whole place, along with the other hosts as well.
Yeah, it feeds off the radiation, it feeds off the energy, and it needs an organic substance to kind of host itself, but once radiation or energy is put onto it, it starts to expand and grow, and that's kind of what it feeds on.
Ooh,
yeah.
Scary times.
Yeah. Not good. It's not good. Not good.
Well, it's good then you guys got out of there because you had the radiation. It would feed on you.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Only Kenzo was left behind, but he kind of deserved
thankfully.
it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like, oh yeah, you're still stuck there.
Yeah. Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a prediction about Kenzo, and I'm going to save it for later on.
Okay. We do predictions at the end of the show.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very, very fun. So let's talk about Holden and Miller. So they meet for the first time at the
That
Blue
was my
Falcon.
prediction. Like, they're going to get together. They need to talk because they have things they need to say to each other.
Yes,
and finally.
they do. Yeah.
So there's like a dynamic when they first meet, right? And we can tell right away that Miller is like total alpha male status, and Amos respects that.
Yeah.
That was funny.
And Holden's like, great, another one.
Yeah.
It's like herding cats of like sociopathic cats. But they both they're both looking after the same thing, and I think pragmatically they both know they need each other, despite the fact that their personalities couldn't be more different, and their modus operandi is definitely different.
Yeah.
But and especially in the pachinko parlor in the arcade, it's a big moment for Holden because he crosses a threshold. They kill this guy with their bare hands.
Yeah.
And it's his first time.
It's his first time, and it's it's a baptism by fire, and that's it's the first time you really start to see Holden kind of moving into a grayer area with his morality, and in terms of the ends justifying the means. Which he's been very idealistic thus far because he hasn't really had to confront it face to face as much. But now that he's in the mix, it's like you start to see the trajectory of his arc going in a very different direction.
There's a lot of scenes where you not only are you helping him, but you also have conflict. But like the very first scene. Actually, where you put last episode where you put your hand on Miller, he's like, "Don't touch me again, or I'll put you down."
Right there he is. Yeah. That's Miller.
Yep. Yeah. And then he has another scene with you where he's still distraught. It's in the alleyway, and Miller's distraught over Julie being dead. He doesn't know what to do now.
Yeah.
And then he hears that you have encountered the Anubis, because he knew about the Anubis. Anubis.
The Anubis.
The
Anubis.
The Anubis.
And then he goes up to you and he just grabs you and throws you up against. How is
he's
that
like
scene?
Jealous.
Yeah.
Holden's just trying to keep him from killing himself because he needs him.
Yeah.
And him. He's when he sees Julie, he's on a rampage. I mean, like he just wants to kill everybody involved. And Holden's thinking a little bit further forward. And he's like, you're never going to figure out who's responsible for this if you just start offing people left and right, and you're probably going to die like that. So it's a good pair, because Holden kind of needs Miller and his brutality for a lot of what they need to do, and Miller needs Holden for his plan, his mind.
How hard did Tom Jane slam you up against that wall?
He's a method actor.
So probably very.
It was pretty great. I mean, Tom is such an incredible actor, and he's done such an amazing work this season, and it's all been very subtle and very talk about heartbreaking. I mean, you just see this guy just desperately wanting to find answers for this person that he loves, and to be able to work with him, I've been such a fan of his for so many years, was such a dream. And I love, it was so fun for us to play with the chemistry of these two characters together, because there were so many opportunities for them just to start taking the shit out of each other. It was like really fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think we had, there's this one scene that's coming to mind where Miller is saying, like, so your girlfriend's gonna take off without you? And he's just like, dick.
You told them to leave?
So good.
Yeah. And then Holden's like, okay, fine. What's the fast way? The dog's like, I've never traveled before. It's like, I have no idea. I'm like, oh, you're...
It's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, perfect. This is great.
Blind leading the blind.
It's all going great. It's all going great
so
here.
Actually, there's another scene that we all, like, chuckled at and we, like, loved. So Thomas Jane, Miller's character, Miller, he goes in front of all the belters and whatnot and starts, like, acting as one of them.
Yes.
And you're kind of there, too, and it's like, oh, my God, what's going down?
Riot.
So I can imagine that at some point you guys were probably not super straight-faced. Is that, or were you guys, like, totally in it?
It was pretty funny. I mean, like, we did a couple of takes first, but I mean, it's such a genius idea. I mean, he just goes in there and just riles them all up. But when he started performing that scene, I mean, all of us just took a beat, because it was like, this is so genius the way he's playing this. It's really funny.
And then it's like, they're not even looking to see who's yelling it, so it doesn't matter. He has the mask down, so yeah.
Right, they're all ready to go anyway, so someone's just giving them permission. You know?
And actually, I was wondering then, how was the action scene after? How was it like to film that? Because that has a lot of pieces going on. There's guns, but not quite. We were discussing how guns work on that futuristic world in outer space.
Self-propelled bullets.
Self-propelled bullets. Yeah. It was crazy to shoot. I mean, it took a while. We spent probably a full day shooting, filming that scene. But it's really the first time you see these two guys together fighting as a unit in any major way. I mean, before that, the violence that they're encountering is, they're still learning about each other. They're still understanding each other's behavior, and they really need each other to get through that gauntlet. So it's cool. I mean, by the end, especially in the elevator afterwards, where he asks Holden, why would you ever leave Earth? With Holden. And what I love about the show as well is that there's very little exposition. Like, you start understanding characters through the experiences that you're going through with them. And Holden's a very cagey character to begin with. I mean, he doesn't like opening up to people. Anybody on the Canterbury is running from something. They are not. It's not normal behavior for them to just spout out where they're from or why they're there, what their motivations are, and you really, there's a real moment of vulnerability.
He's like brutally honest, really.
Yeah, with these two guys, because there's a good chance that they're gonna die very soon, and
they're gonna melt.
They're gonna melt outside the airlock.
That scene was actually pretty humorous. We felt watching it. You were trying to be serious, I assume, during it, but was there any moments where you both got to look at each other and you were, all right, need to hold it in, or was it easy to be serious?
It was. It's graveyard humor. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, these two guys know that they're dying, and they're just trying. It's what we do to lighten the mood and and to survive. And they don't expect to make it through. So they're just cracking jokes with each other the entire time.
I love that Miller's like, it's beautiful because he sees Julie, but then when you look over, it ain't no Julie.
That was funny.
I'm like, that's beautiful. I don't know.
Says a lot about you, man.
Right.
You're like, ooh, not my type.
Right? Yeah. No.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, Amos, obviously, because he's an Earther, you're an Earther, but you're damaged. Right. He can easily take both of you guys through the ship.
I got this.
Yeah, he's a gorilla, man.
He's really big. Like, he's a big dude, right?
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Wes is a big guy in real life as well. And I just love the way he plays Amos. I mean, he's such a complex character, and his morality is so complex. And Naomi's really his moral compass. And he just shoots Semi like he's taking out the trash. Yeah. I mean, like...
Whatever.
He insulted his girl, so he's like, nope, you're done.
Nope.
you
threatened my girl.
You don't mess with the core people from the cant. The people, like, you know, remember the cant, we were saying this last time. But I mean, it's just, we really like all 4 of you guys. I mean, we think that all 4 of you guys are just such amazing characters, and how each of you plays it is just so great. You know, you guys have all your little dynamics and all your different layers, so it's such a wonderfully constructed, like, core cast that we're just, like, obviously on top of, like, Miller and, you know, Avasarala, but it's just wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We, you know, I know it's cliche to say, you know, people say, oh, we're all really close and we're like a family, and we're like, oh. But this is an extraordinary group of people, and we really don't have any bad eggs in the group. There's really no wrench in the machine, and you know, all of us really took this project and the material and the writing we were given, and really wanted to make the most of it and to hit its potential, and everyone came with 110% to give, and you know, we just did our best to make sure that these characters developed honestly and that the group developed honestly over the course of the season. And you know, when we got onto the show, we didn't really know each other as people, we didn't know each other as actors really, and really that's how they're thrown together on the ship. And so it was interesting because, you know, us as a group of actors and us as a group on the show kind of mirrored each other in its trajectory in terms of our growth over the course of the season. So it was a really organic process, and we all happen to really like each other as well. So it was great on all fronts.
That works out well.
I know that Cass, when he was here, said the same thing, that you guys all kind of like hang out and stuff, and you guys are all really close. That's cool. That's awesome to hear.
No, that's great. We actually spent every Sunday while we were shooting, we'd all get together, all the actors and the writers and the whatever director was doing those episodes, and we get together on Sunday and go through all the choices for the week and rehearse all day. And we really did. We spent all our free time together. So I think it really plays and it translates on screen.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah. No, there definitely is a distinct group dynamic for sure.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah. I'm couldn't be more proud of this show and everybody involved.
Speaking of the Rosie crew, so during this episode they actually get split up from Holden, which hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We learned some really interesting things. Naomi is OPA.
Yes.
What? Yeah.
Boom. Huge. Drop the mic.
Yeah.
So did any of us predict that, or did we all think?
I think we all thought she was OPA.
Yeah. We were suspecting that. We even thought that Holden might be OPA, because there were some times where Holden made huge allegations. We were like, wait, what? Yeah. Like, why would he do that? Is he trying to incite the war?
Sure.
Right? Yeah. But that's just the way Holden was calling it.
Yeah, it's just the way he was calling it. It's how he felt. What he felt was going on, and he's just doing everything he could to protect his crew. You know, if he's blaming the wrong guy, at least everyone knows that they're there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an insurance policy to make sure that, you know, they're not executed aboard the Donager.
Oh yeah.
But you know, then becomes this kind of inadvertent, you know, revolutionary hero for like socio-political tension around the belt.
Yeah, he's almost like the Che Guevara.
The poster's very similar.
It is. Yeah. So we get to see Naomi's in the tunnels, right? But she knows that this is the OPA smuggling route. She can't quite find her way through, and then she's like, I don't know what it is. And then Alex just goes right up to the wall and starts kicking it.
When in doubt, just kick.
Which is so funny because it's a throwback to episode 2 with you guys on the outside. You and Amos are on the outside, and you're like, antenna's not working. Was it you or Amos?
Yeah,
I think it was you.
Me,
yeah. You kicked the hell out of that thing.
Right, and it's like, then it works. It's like, it always works. It's like a general rule in the Expanse. Just kick it.
Yeah.
Just kick it.
It's like the old TVs, hit them, you know, gets them to work eventually.
That's right, yeah, sure.
It's technology.
That's it, yeah. A good kick never hurts anything.
Perfect. So, Semi, we think he's a good guy at first.
Right.
He's a friend to Miller, but then when it comes down to it, you know, he can do some nasty stuff, and he ends up killing that one guy, which is, in a way, it's fine because he was infected. He's going to infect the rest of his crew, but you know what? He crossed the line where he insulted, or he threatened rather, the rest of the crew. And that's what I like about Amos's character, is that he believes in that mentality. He's like, I'm gonna go along with you now, but when it comes to the churn, survival, I'm gonna take you out if you're threatening us.
That's
right.
right.
I think his loyalties are like very, very one-sided in the sense that it's like they're very, very strong. Yeah. So he's loyal to the people, at least Naomi, because, you know, sometimes him and Holden seem to not really be on the same page. But so aligned with like Naomi and being true to her, like you said, she's his moral compass and whatnot, that like anything that comes in the way, no matter what they're feeling, maybe some sort of animosity, even if it's a little bit, like, he's still gonna have her back.
For sure.
But all these people too they have such extreme solidarity because they've gone through such extreme situations together, and they've all survived. So maybe even if they don't like each other, it'd still be like, all right, we were all there, we all got through this together, we got to keep going.
If you survive donkey balls, like that is some major stuff.
Yeah, you never go back from that. I mean, you're tied together forever.
How much did you all laugh when that line was being tossed around?
A lot. And ever since as well. Yeah, we were watching the finale all together the other night, and we had this toast afterwards just to kind of congratulations on the season, and I forget who it was, but the toast was donkey balls. Yes, donkey balls. Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
But yeah, no, Amos's morality is rigid and structured because it's not based on what he's feeling. He doesn't know how to do the right thing based on his own instinct. So he looks to her, and the morality that he's built is it's a intellectual structure. So like if someone points a gun at Naomi, then we shoot him.
Yes.
Obviously.
Let me get a gun and blow his brains out right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and he just very casually clocks it and then just walks over, pulls out a gun and shoots
and
him.
I'll take care of this.
Right. Yeah, I'm just going to put it downstairs.
Don't worry, I'll clean it up.
Yeah.
I'll get it. Sweetheart, don't worry, I'll clean up the mess.
That's so funny.
We're kind of running low on time, so maybe let's go ahead and talk about Avasarala, and then we'll ask you some more questions, and then we'll wrap it up with our predictions for next season.
Yeah.
So Avasarala, really important stuff that we learned with her. She visits de Graaf's place, right? And she says, "Oh, let me be alone. I need to grieve for a little bit." She grabs 3 pencils, and we're like, "Pencils?
Yeah.
They're data sticks too."
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's real. I love the
I
technology.
want one of those.
in the
Those are
future.
cool.
I want a lot of the stuff that they have
Yes.
there.
She finds out from one of the sticks that it has something on it, and it has the drive signatures, and that it was actually made in the Bush Naval Yards on Earth. And then she also gets to see that same information from Fred Johnson, blasting it all across the system, right? And she's like, I need to go to somebody with this. So she approaches Aaron Wright, and then the fleet admiral, I forget his name, but she goes to him, and right away he's like, "Oh yeah, we already know. We got this covered."
Yeah, we're on top of that.
No,
we're on top of that.
Super suspicious.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Big time.
And now she's thinking it, and we're thinking it, that Aaron Wright is probably behind it, or whatever it is, whatever this conspiracy is, along with Jules Pierre Mao, and he, Aaron Wright, probably arranged the death of de Graaf.
Yeah,
the Martian ambassador.
It certainly smells that way. It's I think with Avasarala's story, because her character was moved from book 2 up into the beginning of the story, because it being a different medium, it works better visually because it's not like she's not actually there and that's not going on. It's just not mentioned in the first book.
Okay.
But to have the perspective from Earth as well. So you've got the the belt, and then you've got the stations, and then you've got the Earth. But with her, she finds herself in a bizarre situation. She finds herself not knowing what's going on in her own house.
Yeah.
And and it's a very dangerous thing, and she's surrounded by vipers, and it'll be a very interesting narrative from here on out with her, because it gets a little crazy. I mean, if you are familiar with the books, if anyone out there is familiar with the books, they know it gets really nuts with Avasarala.
Yeah.
And Sheree Aragashlu, what an incredible actress, and the greatest voice ever on film.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's so
amazing.
cool. It's
Very
so cool.
distinct.
Yeah.
So great.
It's like she can be a really calming matriarch, but at the same time she can be a wolf too.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. Every character in this show you see 2 sides of everyone. Everyone's in shades of gray. Every group is in shades of gray. There's no good side or bad side, really. Everyone's capable of doing really brutal things for their own goals. And with her, she's got to turn. She's got to turn, because where she is responsible for all of this. Maybe.
Yeah.
So what attracted you, Steven, to the Expanse? How did you get involved with it, and what did you like most about the project?
I was like I said before, I was a huge fan of the books, and And to me, I had never done science fiction before, really, and I've been a huge fan of the genre my whole life. The early Ridley Scott films were some of my favorite movies ever made. Blade Runner, Alien. And a lot of the tone that we have, especially out in space, is kind of very similar to those early Alien movies. At least we tried to kind of base it on that. And
it's a little sci-fi steampunk kind of like Blade Runner. Like when you're on the stations, it kind of feels like
a little grimy. I mean, things haven't turned out quite the way we would have liked, in the future.
It's not a clean, perfect future.
No, there's no hyperspace and nothing's shiny. It's but for me, I was attracted to the writing. I mean, the Mark and Hawk, who adapted the books, who wrote Children of Men and Iron Man, amongst many other things. They just wrote such an incredibly beautiful script, and the characters themselves and the way that it played was all really smart, and just the opportunity to play this character that has such an enormous arc. Because when you meet Holden, he's a slacker. He's cynical. He doesn't want any responsibility. He's running from authority. He's put himself out there specifically to not do stuff.
He doesn't want to be the XO.
He doesn't want to be the XO.
No.
Again, I don't want to be the XO. And to see this guy ignited and turned into this other thing was such an incredible narrative to play, because there's so many different colors that change in his personality over time, and you watch this man become the leader he probably should have been, and that he was born to be, really, because you find out in a few episodes earlier, he was literally born with a purpose to save his family's farm, and in a purpose that he never had any chance of winning. So he runs feeling like a failure, and you see him finally start to own his purpose. So that in and of itself, that kind of archetypal poetic arc was really something that I was looking forward to playing.
And when you read the books, did you see yourself as any particular character ahead of time?
I didn't. No, I actually didn't even, when I first read them, I didn't know that they were adapting them. So I enjoyed both characters, Miller and Holden, because in the books they go back and forth between the two, and I actually was really I was so impressed with the balance of tones in the book, because and we tried in the show to do that as well, that we have all these different tones and genres hanging together harmoniously. You've got the noir world with Miller, and you've got the political world with Avasarala, and you've got the survival tale with Holden and his crew, and they all complement each other with these different tones and colors, and it's a very difficult thing to do. And in essence, so much science fiction is based on the technology and the gadgets and the kind of all that stuff, and that's really secondary in our story. I mean, it's a character-based story that you could place in colonial times. So you could place it now. You could place it, and it all still works.
True.
Especially the political side. There's always the freaking politics.
Actually, speaking of secondary bit, but technology-wise, what was it like, and how did they film the zero-G floaty bits?
We were on wires.
Okay.
We were on wires, and we actually had a movement coach with us at all times when we were doing the zero-gravity stuff, to make sure that our movements were correct and it all was looking kosher. But we also wanted to play gravity for what it really is. So much science fiction, everyone's just walking around and so you just have to assume that there's this kind of artificial gravity in these stations or ships or whatever. But our showrunner Narayan Shankar, he's got a degree in applied physics from Cornell. So whenever we had a question about how the water should pour into a glass, if the gravity is just a little bit different, he's like, well, it would really kind of go more like that way,
sideways.
So we wanted to again kind of just stick to the realism of what it would actually be, and of course it was also really fun. I mean, you're hanging upside down in a couple stories in the air, and you're like, this is my job. I can't believe this.
I like this.
This is amazing.
What was your favorite scene to shoot during this season, if you had to pick one?
The Kenzo scene at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
You really go for it too.
Yeah, it was I picked specific moments through the season where you see behind the layers of front that Holden has, and with Kenzo, you really do see an active experience after he crosses this kind of threshold into maturity as a leader, and he has to make the hard decision against the morality that he's had throughout the entire season to execute this person, essentially. I mean, if he would have shot him, it would have been merciful.
Compared to what happened to him.
Totally.
Yeah.
There was something interesting that we were talking about while we were screening the episode, how Holden doesn't wear glasses.
No, he doesn't.
And we were wondering, were you using contacts while you were on set? So tell us about what happened.
No, Holden was not wearing glasses. Holden should have been wearing glasses.
That's why he couldn't make kids up.
That's right.
That's why every shot missed.
That's why he missed kids
every shot missed.
Yeah, forget about it.
I was shooting and I started to get these migraines and I couldn't understand why, and I was just walking down the street in Toronto and hopped into an optometrist's office. And they put me in the machine and they put the lenses on and it was like the world was in HD. I was like, oh, this is how people actually see all the time? Really? They're like, yeah, Steve, you've been blind forever. I'm like, it's great. Good to know. I'm really glad we cleared that up.
So it was thanks to working on The Expanse.
That's right.
That found you needed glasses.
Saved my eyesight. So thank you, everyone on The Expanse.
So now when you go back for season 2, you're probably going to be wearing contacts.
Yes. Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
So what have you learned about what's a lesson that you have taken away from shooting The Expanse? Like something about life, something about maybe like your work ethic. What's something that you've taken away, something that you can share with us?
What I really loved about this whole process was we really took on the dynamic of almost a theater company, and we really worked together. I mean, so many shoots, and there's no right way to shoot or work, and there's no right way with a creative process, but with this, we really all did come together, and it was a collective effort as opposed to individualized efforts with a lot of different people who come together on set every day. We really wanted to, this story is so detailed and so beloved by so many people. We all tried to do our part to make sure that it really honored the books and the source material. And I think it really speaks to the power of our group together, that we were able to execute this incredibly complex story and still maintain the heart that the book had. And I think it's going to be a part of my process from now on is to really kind of galvanize, or help galvanize the groups of people that I'm working with, because some extraordinary things can happen.
So you're greenlit for season 2.
We are. Woo-hoo! Yes.
Yeah.
That's
so excited.
Yes. And have you started any table reads or sitting down or doing pre-production?
Not quite yet. We're almost there. The writers have been in the writer's room for a while now, and a lot of the scripts are finished already. So we're all chomping at the bit to get our hands on those scripts.
I bet.
Yeah, but I because I've read the books, I kind of know where the story's going, and it's crazy. I mean, the stuff we're going to be shooting for season 2 is going to be really fun. So
when do you expect to start shooting?
I think we're going to start at the end of April.
Ooh.
Yeah, and we're just going to shoot, I think, through October.
And then we only have. What do you think it's going to debut at the same time? No, it's probably going to be
I think it's probably going to be. I think it's January 17th.
Okay. Yeah. So it'll take. Yeah, it'll be about almost exactly a year.
Yeah. The thing is with the
how are we going to survive? I know. We're going to have withdrawals. Now, I was going to say by then we will have read the books.
Yeah. No, the post-production on our show is just so beautiful.
Course, yeah.
But it just takes time.
Because it looks great. Yeah. We've definitely talked about how nice the show looks. How the lighting is gorgeous with the dark tones, which adds to the mood of it. Yeah. The outside galaxy shots, it looks believable. It looks like a real kind of environment, not just cheesy sci-fi or something.
No, that's beautiful.
No, we got extraordinarily lucky with our crew. I mean, they just worked their hearts out, and the stuff just looks so beautiful. I mean, it blew me away, because when you're working with green screen, you don't know. I mean, you have to imagine it in your mind, and it just blew every expectation I had out of the water. I mean, they just did such a beautiful job.
How was that working with green screen and in environments? Because, I mean, you have done special effects kind of shows before and movies, but how was it for this one?
It was interesting. I've always found with green screen, there's this kind of dichotomy between, you obviously don't have anything to work with, but it also frees you in a bizarre way because your only limit is really what your imagination can produce. And then you rely on the special effects team and your colleagues to execute the same way, so that if you want to act real towards this thing, and that it all works cohesively. Because if the effects are bad and my reaction's really real, I just look like a fool. They did a great job. I'm really so happy. This stuff is so beautiful, and I found also too the perspectives that they use with the CG, especially out in space, is not perspectives that you generally see in big science fiction movies and television. There's always a perspective from the shots out in space. There's never like an eye of God shot, really. You know what I mean? It is always generally looking from somebody. It's either like a ship that's hidden from the Anubis, or it's Julie on the asteroid, or it's us on the Canterbury. But there's always, it always follows the angle or an eyesight of somebody. It's always, every shot is justified somehow.
I really like that. I never thought about it that way.
That is a really good. Yeah, same. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a cool way of seeing it. Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Do we have any other questions for Steven?
No. Any other projects that you're working on that you want to mention? You can mention?
Good point.
This is the one that I'm working on right now. Yeah, there's only a little bit of time left before we start. So
actually, I do have a question. Sorry. Yeah. We have talked about the book kind of compared to the show, and now that you've read it, now you've acted it. How You did mention, you tried to keep true to the book. How close do you feel it is? Do you feel it's just like kind of an alternate take on it, as in like an alternate version of it, or do they stay pretty true?
They stay very true to the book. I mean, we also have the novelists in the writer's room as well and on set every day.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, they wrote, I think, one of the
They liked our show.
they wrote one of the episodes that we were discussing like maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, it was incredible. To have like the actual authors of the book like doing, also penning the teleplay or whatever, the screenplay.
Yeah,
so good.
it's really great, and it's incredibly rare. I mean, especially when books are adapted, it's very, very rare thing to have the novelists involved in the writing of the screenplay. But they're such amazing writers, and adapted to the new medium so fast, and really gave us all the answers we needed to really stick true to the story. And
what are they like?
They're so funny. They're really funny, because Ty and Daniel, I mean, are very different personalities as well. Okay. Yeah, Ty is kind of brash, and Daniel's very kind of like shy, and
so it's Holden and Miller.
It's Holden and Miller, and I forget exactly who writes, but one does write one, and the other writes the other. I believe I've heard them say that.
That's incredible.
But they're both so talented and smart and game to collaborate, and we stuck to it really hardcore with the exception of bringing Avasarala up to the front of the story. But even Daniel and Ty said it earlier on one of the events that we did. They were like, well, it's not that she wasn't there and involved the whole time. It's just that you see her perspective in book 2.
It makes sense in the different medium.
For sure. And it's a nice contrast with what's going on out in space, and it kind of opens up the sky and the world. It
grounds it.
Yeah, you need that Earth perspective. Kari's on fire.
Yeah. It's true though. It does.
Then that'd be Mars.
Keep it coming.
Yes. Good puns. Love it.
Did you have any questions for the writers, since you had read the books and now you're coming into it? Were there any things that while you're reading it, you had always wanted to know, or was it pretty straightforward?
It was fairly straightforward. I mean, I had little questions here and there, mostly about Holden's past and history,
nice.
Family dynamics, that kind of stuff. Just the kind of rudimentary, fundamental character building stuff. How he grew up and how it affected him, and he has multiple parents, how that worked, how that affected the way he thinks. what it's like to grow up with the pressure of a political goal in mind for the reason why you're born. All those things add to Holden's personality and make him who he is. So I had all of those things together, and I just just went further and further in depth with them as much as I could, to make Holden a solid foundation to build on.
Oh, that's great. Then you had the source material.
They're right there. Right there. I mean, it would be criminal not to use it. I mean,
they're right there, and it's the first time I've ever worked on a project with source material. And to have the authors there was like a dream come true.
Did you ask them to sign your books?
I did.
I did. I totally nerded out on them. I wasn't ashamed.
I mean,
that's awesome. It totally makes sense, though. They're like, sign our DVDs.
We'll do a little trade-off here.
Right.
It's a true testament, though, to how good the source material is, because the show is really incredible. And I feel like being able to just take it from the book and put it onto a screen and like not lose a lot of things and not anger fans, because fans I know are very happy with the show. That is just such a like success.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
It's the #1 space drama right now.
Thank you. Yeah. No, we're excited. We're so excited. It's a great group, and we're so grateful. I mean, everybody involved is. We're just so happy to be going back.
And congrats for season 2.
Thank you.
One last question, then we'll go over to predictions.
Yeah.
So we were kind of debating, like, there was a mention when Avasarala and Holden's mother were talking about, like, him, like, inheriting the land or whatever.
Right.
So the way they were kind of saying it, to me, it was a little bit vague. To us here on the panel, it was a little bit vague.
Sure.
So was he, like, conceived by genetic material from 8 different people? He was.
Yeah.
So that he could inherit it because he had maybe like more genetic material than if he had been born like and had the diluted bloodline.
Yeah, and in the justification for that is because it's a commune that owns this land. It's a co-op. It's a legal reason in court. So like he's technically the heir of all of these people to the land, so that they can keep it because the government keeps trying to take the land away from them. So he's already coming into it. People view his family as political radicals, and he's taking over the reins.
It's an extreme conception.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but so, it's but there's a line when he's getting interrogated on the Donager.
Yeah.
And there's a line about his parents, and he's like, "Which one's your parents?" Like, they were all my parents.
Yeah.
And did you ever meet the actress that was your mother?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Frances Fisher. Oh, she's amazing. I mean, she's a legendary actress.
Because it's one of those, like, she's on Earth, and that's...
Well, and that scene was so killer.
Oh, they were so good.
Oh, weren't they?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was just so good.
And to watch those two do a scene together is just so incredible. Mm-hmm. So incredible.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's go ahead and we're getting the wrap-up sign, so let's move to our predictions.
All right.
There we go.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV.
It comes with music.
Yeah.
Nice.
We get lights and effects.
We get lights.
These are our effects.
If the proto-molecule was in here, it would be growing right now.
Oh, no.
That's right. Don't look under the table. It's coming up.
So let's start over at that side.
Well, okay. I think that proto-molecule thing that now kind of looks like an alien/bug to me is gonna probably I think it's gonna backfire on Earth. I just don't think it's that simple. Whatever they're gonna do, I think it's gonna kind of like take a mind of its own. It's gonna be hard to control that. I have no idea how they're gonna do that. So I just think it's gonna somehow, in some way, shape, or form, backfire on them. So that's my big prediction for like season 2. And then I think, not knowing anything, and given that we have Steven Strait right here, I feel weird saying this, but also like I think Naomi and Holden are gonna be a thing. I'm gonna ship them like right now. Just saying. So. Yeah,
they did have a nice little scene at the end there.
There was some hand grabbing.
Yeah, there's like, oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I still think that we're gonna see Fred Johnson and Anderson Dawes kind of go at it like against each other, because they just seem like two very different. Even though they're both OPA, they just seem so different. So I'm hoping and expecting some sort of animosity between them, and that we'll actually see it in person. Because I know they have a bit of history. I'm expecting something in person.
Kari?
Yeah. Oh, man, it's so hard. I think Avasarala is going to kick some ass somehow.
Yes.
I don't know how, but she is. She seems like she has she's going to figure out a way to get information. And even if she gets taken down, I don't know how she would be, but if she does, she's taking people down with her. Yes. I know that's weirdly vague and specific. And then I don't know where our ship of merry men and lady are going. Oh, and they have the people down below though, so they have a bigger group. Peeps. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know where they're going, but something is kind of big. Again, very vague, but I don't have anything specific.
I got something specific.
I know, I was waiting for you. You were excited.
I feel like Kenzo, I don't think he's dead. Like, even though I haven't read the books yet. So, like, I'm going to say this with more confidence because I haven't read the books. I think Kenzo's alive. I think the thing the proto-molecule mimicking him, maybe it's going to use his body for something.
Well, because he's different than your regular person.
Yeah,
with that eyeball thing.
He's got the bioorganic stuff. Yeah, he's a spy. He's smart. Maybe it's going to use him for his intelligence.
He's very smart.
It's a good prediction.
I think that the bioweapon is actually we're going to see Dresden and Jules Pierre Mao use it as more. Maybe they're testing it for a reason. I feel like they're testing it because it's like a next stage. They see it as a next stage in human evolution, so that we can go beyond the limits of our solar system, beyond the limitations of our own bodies. Because we have the belters. The further out we have humans get, the weaker we're getting because there's no gravity to grow our bones strong, to grow the bodies correctly.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what they're trying to do. And then we have the Mormons also. They're another piece of the puzzle.
We haven't heard from them in a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. But there's so many like little breadcrumbs here and there. And I read, I think I read in the book where the Mormon in the conversation on that ferry with Miller, he says like, hey, the only reason we keep warring with each other is because we're human. The only way we're going to be able to be something more is if we transcend that, and maybe this is the way to transcend that. So those are my predictions.
Those are all solid predictions.
Yes.
Not even a flinch over here.
I know. He's like
not giving away a single thing.
Poker face.
Poker face.
Gonna wrap.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here at the Expanse AfterBuzz TV podcast, and be sure to check us out next season. Thank you so much to Steven Strait for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Play Holden on the show. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Continue to do an amazing job. We will love to see you next season.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'll be back for sure.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
And then over here, where can we find everybody?
Oh, yeah, real quick. Hey, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kari D. Lane and Facebook at Kari Lane Actor.
And you can find me at MGCVSST on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
And you guys can find me at Sean Austin O on Twitter and Instagram. And be sure to check out my book, City of Angels and Discontent. That's on Amazon and the iBookstore. And it's doing a book blog tour starting next week. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
See you next season.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.